Hi, y'all. Thanks for joining me for another Collab365 video blog. This one is going to be one of my NikTips blog. And my name is Nakia Carter. I am Director of Collaboration and Training for C3 Integrated Solutions over in Arlington, Virginia. I'm a Microsoft strategist, solutions developer, and trainer with specialties in Office 365, SharePoint, and related. You can see some of my street cred here. Um, Also, C3, we're a managed services partner, which means we do things like manage your services, devices, your Office 365 solutions, um, set up networking for you, as well as develop business solutions for you via SharePoint and Office 365 and SharePoint, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud. So, just to refresh you on what a NikTip is. A NikTip is my new series where I'll be giving you a tip on some best practices from my experience from being in the industry and working various jobs. Also, it could be an explanation that some people have come to me and said, I don't know what that means, or how should I do this? And since I've heard the question over and over again, I thought maybe I should explain it. If you have an idea for a tip, let me know so I will record it for you. So today's tip is a little gotcha on the communication sites and the modern team sites and discussion of a workaround using the hub and or classic team sites. So let's look at this. So I'm in a classic team site. I'm in the first team site that you get when you get Office 365. Of course, it's built on a classic team site, not on the modern team site. So the gotcha is when you have modern sites, whether they be the communication sites or those that are made when a team site, or when a Teams is created or an Office 365 group is created, both of them create a site collection. Those site collections are team sites, but they're not the classic one. So let's look at the classic one. If we go to the gear and we go to site settings, you see, because I'm a site collection administrator, all the goodies are here. All the design galleries, all the look and feel stuff, all the site collection administration stuff, everything's here. But the gotcha is when you go to create, say, a communication site and you go to the settings, or an Office 365 team site that's created when you create an Office 365 group, or a Microsoft Teams, which also creates an site collection using the team site, but not the classic one. If you go and look at the site settings, you might be like, what? I don't see everything. Where is stuff? I'm still a site collection administrator, but I don't have a bunch of the web galleries. I don't have some of the look and feel. Some of my site collection administration stuff is missing. And of course, I don't have permissions, but permissions is understandable because permissions in the Office 365 group or the Microsoft team will be managed by Office 365 group permission roles. But in the Calm site, I do have the users and permissions stuff, but I don't have a bunch of my web designer galleries. I don't have some look and feel, and I don't have some of my site collection administration stuff. That can kind of hinder you when you're trying to do things like upload a list template. Now, of course, you can URL hack and get to the library, but once you try to actually upload it and make it work, it will actually give you an error. So you can't even use it, even if you can get to it. So that can be a big problem. If you make a classic team site, though, site collection, such as this one, then you do still get, even though I modernized the page here, you can still get all of the site settings that are helpful. So the suggestion that I have been coming up with, at least recently, on how to combat this um, is to create a calm site, maybe use that as your main site, and then hub all of your other sites to it so that you have a nice communication site with a nice look and feel, such as, I think it's this one. Yep, such as this one. Let me just, with a nice look and feel. But then maybe you hub it to departmental, have departmental sites hub to it, such as this one. Actually, let me just go there. Where you probably swap out the page with a modern page instead of using the classic page. So it still has the modern look and feel, but now you have the left navigation. It's not as clean, but since this is a department, maybe that doesn't matter so much. And if you work for a larger company, you might even consider having a communication site for each department and then hubbing the smaller groups to those communication sites. And then on the home, which may also be a communication site, you might want to use maybe a hero web part or permission to navigation on that main communication site in order for people to only see the links that they should be seeing. Now, you may say, okay, but I think you're maybe overreacting a little bit. If you go and create a classic team site underneath one of these communication sites or the team site that's made from an Office 365 group or Microsoft Teams, you should be able to get and be able to create uh, a sub-site that would be based on the classic team site. And you wouldn't be wrong. I created one here, classic team site. You can create a classic team site sub-site using the classic team site template. But because it's under a communication site, I still have the issue of under site settings, actually having a little bit less because now I don't have the site collection administration stuff, but I still have the stripped down version of the settings. I still can't get the complete amount of settings that I could get as a site collection administrator, even if I use the classic team site template under a communication site or under a Office 365 group that creates that site collection. Neither one of those would work. So if I go to my Office 365 group, see it says Office 365 group team, just to prove the point, I'll go to the sub-site I created, which I forgot. It's actually a link right there. So let me just click right there. And we'll go to the settings just so that you can see what I'm talking about again. So the moral of the story is, if you don't use a classic team site as the site collection, the top of the site collection, you will not get all of the settings. Whoops, and it just logged me out. Even if you go to use the classic team site template to create a sub-site under a modern site, be it, well, even if it is a modern site that is a communication site or a site collection that was created when an Office 365 group was created or a Microsoft team was created, neither one of those will give you the ability to create a classic team site using the template as a sub-site with all of the settings in there. So if you need all the settings, which you probably will need when you get down into the nitty-gritty of working in a department, which will probably have custom forms, will probably have things like workflow and other things that other templates, other lists that you may need to move from place to place. It'd be best that you actually create that as a classic um, team site collection so that you have all the functions, capabilities, site settings, um, what have you. Now, some people ask, okay, but the main site collection is not a modern site. So how can I replace that or make that into a modern calm site so that it looks pretty, but I still am able to hub other sites to it that will be the classic team site? Well, the answer to that is you can't right now. You can't. You cannot convert your main site collection, which is a classic team site collection. You cannot convert that into a modern team site collection. So you might say, okay, well, what about all that stuff that you were talking about for using the Calm site as the big, beautiful site for the main site and then hubbing on it classic site collections? Well, you'd have to use some redirect code, which still works. Back in the day, I used to use some JavaScript code, and it is on the web, so you could just look it up, redirect in SharePoint from the home page. There's some code that you can put on the home page that will redirect from that home page as soon as the person goes from the SharePoint home page. They go to their main intranet page. They'll automatically be redirected to your comms, your big beautiful comms intranet starting page. The kicker though is that you're going to have to keep that main site collection, keep the main homepage as a classic homepage because you will have to use the content editor web part. And the content editor web part is not available through the modern page. So you can't flip it to a modern page because that's not going to work, not for the main homepage. One of the things you can do though is in order to get that option for converting an existing site into a communication site is to vote for it. So on user voice, someone already put out the option, or actually the feedback to Microsoft to provide the option to convert an existing site from a classic site collection to a modern communication site collection. So please go and vote on this. This has to be in the cases that you see right here. So all the caps have to be caps in order for you to be able to get to the right place to go vote. I've already voted on it. You should too if you agree with this. I also created my first of the series. The first Nick tip was a video on swapping the classic SharePoint homepage for a modern SharePoint homepage. So if you're looking for guidance on how to do that on those hubbed sub-site collections that I was talking about, because they would have to be site collections hubbed to a communication site, then this is the place that you would go to find out more information on that. Again, all the caps have to be capped so that you get to the correct place. You can also just look under me as a Collab365 speaker, and you will find that first video blog. Well, thanks so much for your time today. If you have any questions or you have any ideas for a tip, please reach out to me and let me know so that I can put together a video for you. And if you'd like to reach out, here is some information on how you could reach me or you can reach my company if you're interested in our services. Thanks, guys. Until the next time. Bye-bye.